In life, there comes a moment when you find yourself in a situation that feels like a slow destruction. Your spirit begins to weaken, happiness fades away, health deteriorates, and your sense of self becomes blurred. This is not weakness, but a quiet yet persistent signal that something needs to change. Perhaps you are in a relationship where respect has long disappeared, or you are working in a place that drains you without any satisfaction. Or maybe you are stuck in a cycle of obligations and guilt that leaves you feeling empty. Today, we will discuss situations where leaving is an act of courage and self-respect. We will explore how the principles of Stoicism help in making difficult decisions and finding a path to a life that aligns with your true values. Stay with us, and by the end of this video, you will have a clearer understanding of when to embrace new opportunities and why leaving is not a weakness, but a bold step forward. First, respect is the foundation of healthy relationships. Respect is a key element of any healthy relationship, whether personal or professional. When respect disappears, it is felt in every action. You are ignored, interrupted, and your boundaries are violated. Over time, this begins to erode your confidence, turning you into a shadow of your former self. Stoics remind us that our self-respect should not depend on others' opinions, but if you are constantly surrounded by disrespectful people, it becomes very difficult to maintain inner peace in such an environment. In the workplace, a lack of recognition for your efforts diminishes motivation, and if your achievements are attributed to others, it is a clear signal that you are not valued. In personal relationships, the situation is even more serious. If your partner, family, or friends do not show respect, it undermines not only your self-esteem, but also your mental health. Leaving such relationships is not giving up, but restoring dignity. Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control. We cannot change the attitudes of those around us, but we can choose who we want to be with. By leaving, you not only protect yourself, but also set a precedent. You cannot be disrespected. You deserve an environment where you are valued. Every day spent in a place where you are not respected takes away from your life. While in a place where you are valued, that day will bring you joy. Second, your health is more important than anything. Health is the foundation of everything else. When you notice that work, relationships, or lifestyle are deteriorating your physical or mental state, it is a signal that cannot be ignored. Stress, insomnia, chronic fatigue, these are not just parts of life, but signals from your body saying, enough. Long working hours, a toxic environment, constant pressure, all of this leads to burnout and serious consequences. Stoics believed in balance and moderation, which means neglecting your health for the sake of others' expectations contradicts the very nature of a harmonious life. The situation in relationships is similar. Constant conflicts, neglect, and manipulation drain you just as much as the exhausting feeling of being stuck in a toxic environment. Leaving such relationships is not weakness, but an act of protecting your inner world. Your health is not something to sacrifice. Life is too short to spend it destroying yourself. Third, when your values no longer align with reality. Our values are not just principles we state aloud. They are the foundation of our decisions, actions, and worldview. They define who we are, what we consider right, and what we strive for. When you find yourself in a situation that forces you to compromise your values, it inevitably leads to inner conflict. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca spoke about the importance of living in accordance with one's beliefs. They warned that a person who betrays their values for comfort or gain loses themselves. Every time you act against your principles, your inner voice reminds you of this, causing anxiety and a sense of losing yourself. Think about a job that requires unethical behavior, hiding the truth or deceit. At first, it may seem possible to turn a blind eye, but over time, it becomes the norm. One day, you will realize that you have become someone you did not want to be. This is a clear sign that it is time to leave. The same applies to personal relationships. If your partners, friends, or family force you to act against your will, you are no longer living your life. Stoics taught us to firmly adhere to our virtues despite pressure. A life where your values remain unchanged is an act of courage. Therefore, if you feel that a situation is forcing you to betray yourself, find the strength to leave. Fourth, if you are no longer growing. Growth is a natural state of being. We learn, refine skills, discover new things, and move forward. When this process stops, life turns into a Groundhog Day, and satisfaction is replaced by a sense of emptiness. Stoics believed that wisdom is an endless journey. When growth halts, degradation begins, and life becomes predictable and dull. This is a signal that it's time to reflect. Perhaps this job once inspired you and provided opportunities for growth. But if it now only brings routine, it's a sure sign that it's time to seek new horizons. The same applies to relationships. If your interactions with a partner or friends no longer inspire you and have turned into a repetitive cycle, it's a reason to think. True relationships should motivate you, help you unlock your potential, and not just exist. The same goes for personal hobbies. If a hobby that once inspired you has become boring, it may be time to try something new. The world is full of opportunities, and Stoics taught us not to fear change if it leads to growth. A dangerous moment in life is when you stop asking yourself questions like, where am I going? What am I learning? What makes me better? If there are no answers to these questions, it means you are standing still. And Stoics knew that stagnation is the first step toward decline. Don't be afraid to change course, seek new experiences, and move forward. Sometimes leaving is not a retreat, but a conscious step toward greater development. Fifth, when you lose yourself. At some point, we begin to lose our identity when we succumb to external pressures. This can be related to career, personal relationships, or societal expectations. We start to change to please others, forgetting who we truly are. Stoics asserted that to be happy, one must be true to oneself. Abandoning oneself for external factors is a path to inner unhappiness. When you can't recognize yourself in the mirror, when your desires and needs no longer align with reality, it's a clear signal that something is wrong. Acknowledge this to yourself, and give yourself permission to be who you are. Sometimes leaving is the only way to reclaim your identity and restore a sense of inner harmony. It's important to remember that each of us is unique, and we deserve a life where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment. Don't be afraid to walk away from anything that makes you lose your essence. Sixth, liberation from limitations. Each of us faces situations that impose limitations on us. These limitations can be external, such as work or obligations, or internal fears, doubts, and insecurities. Stoics taught that the path to freedom begins with accepting what we can control and freeing ourselves from what is beyond our influence. It's important to learn to let go and walk away from what constrains your freedom. Sometimes this may involve material obligations, attachments, or even your own insecurities. But once you realize that staying in such situations limits you, leaving becomes a way to free yourself and start living without those heavy shackles. This can be a difficult decision, but it may become the most important one in your life. Stoics believed that inner liberation does not depend on external circumstances. It's essential to free yourself from what keeps you captive and give yourself a chance for a new life full of possibilities. 7. When fear becomes a brake. Fear is a natural reaction to uncertainty, but when it starts to control you, it becomes a problem. Stoics spoke about how fear can only be overcome through the realization that suffering is not something to be afraid of. But what happens when fear becomes your barrier and you can no longer act? This is a signal that it's time to change something. When your decisions and actions are held back by fear of the future, it leads to stagnation. Often, fear arises from attachment to what exists because the unknown seems frightening. But in reality, true strength lies in embracing change, in the courage to act despite fear. Stoics taught us not to fear losing something if it hinders our growth or happiness. Leaving what causes fear can be not only a liberation, but also an important step in finding what truly leads you to inner harmony. 8. When you don't see meaning. When every day becomes like the previous one, when goals lose their significance, and life seems meaningless, it may be a signal that it's time to change direction. Stoics believed that life should be filled with meaning, not just routine. When you feel that what you are doing no longer brings satisfaction, it may be the first step toward understanding that something needs to change. This could be related to work, relationships, or even your lifestyle. Leaving a situation that has lost its meaning can mark the beginning of a new life where you will once again seek and find significance. Don't stay in a place where there is no meaning, as life is too short to waste it in vain. You deserve for each day to be filled with awareness and satisfaction. Ninth, when you lose connection with yourself. In today's world, full of distractions, it's easy to lose touch with your own desires and needs. We often conform to the expectations of others, forgetting what truly matters to us. This can manifest in choosing a career that does not bring satisfaction or staying in relationships that do not align with our values. Stoics taught us that it is important to be honest with ourselves and to listen to our inner voice. If you feel that you are losing yourself, it may be a sign that it's time to reassess your priorities and possibly walk away from what no longer serves your well-being. 10th, when you cannot be yourself. It is important to be surrounded by people who accept you for who you are. If you feel that you must constantly pretend or hide your true feelings, this may be a sign of toxic relationships. Stoics emphasized the importance of sincerity and authenticity. Leaving such relationships can be difficult, but it is a necessary step toward restoring your identity and inner peace. Don't be afraid to seek out those who appreciate you for who you are and support your individuality. 11th, when you feel stuck. Sometimes life can seem monotonous and predictable, leading to a sense of stagnation. Stoics believe that development and growth are natural states of being. If you feel that you are stuck in one place, it may be a signal that it's time to seek new opportunities and challenges. This could involve changing jobs, exploring a new hobby, or even traveling to a new place. Stepping away from routine and seeking new experiences can inspire you and bring back the joy of life. 12th, when you don't see prospects. It is important to have goals and aspirations that inspire you. If you find yourself in a situation where you see no future or opportunities for growth, it may be a sign that it's time to move on. Stoics taught us that life is too short to waste it on what does not bring satisfaction. Leaving a situation that lacks prospects can mark the beginning of a new path filled with opportunities and discoveries. 13th, when you feel unheard. It is important for your thoughts and feelings to be heard and understood. If you are surrounded by people who ignore your needs and opinions, it may be a sign that you need to leave. Stoics emphasize the importance of communication and mutual understanding. Leaving such relationships can help you find people who value your opinion and are willing to support you. 14th, when you cannot develop. Development is key to happiness and satisfaction. If you feel that you are in a situation that does not allow you to grow and develop, it may be a signal that it's time to seek new opportunities. Stoics taught us that it is important to strive for self-improvement and not to fear change. Leaving a situation that limits your growth can open doors to new opportunities and perspectives. 15th, when you feel you are losing control. It is important to have the ability to control your life and make decisions that align with your values and desires. If you feel that circumstances are controlling you rather than the other way around, it may be a sign that it's time to change something. Stoics taught us that we can only control our actions and reactions. Leaving a situation where you feel powerless can help you regain control over your life. 16th, when you cannot find balance. Balance is key to a harmonious life. If you feel that your life is spiraling out of control and you cannot find balance between work, personal life, and rest, it may be a sign that it's time to reassess your priorities. Stoics emphasize the importance of moderation and balance. Leaving a situation that disrupts your balance can help you restore harmony and peace. Conclusion. Making the decision to leave difficult situations is not always an easy path, but it can be the very step that leads you to a better life. Stoics taught us to make tough decisions with dignity and honesty toward ourselves. Leaving is not a weakness, but an act of courage, self-respect, and the pursuit of better. Sometimes life demands more from us than just patience. It requires change. And if you feel that your life needs change, if your inner world no longer aligns with what is happening around you, embrace that decision. Don't be afraid to step into the unknown, for it is in the search for the new and unexplored that true strength lies. Your path is your choice. You deserve to be happy, and to live in accordance with the values that are important to you. Leaving can mark the beginning of a new, brighter, and more fulfilling chapter in your life. Leaving is not a weakness, but an act of courage, strength, and self-respect. Stoics taught us the courage of letting go and understanding that sometimes we need to leave in order to be true to ourselves and our values. Making this decision is not always easy, but it can become a turning point that opens new horizons for you. It is important to remember that your life belongs to you, and only you have the right to decide who and where you want to be. Do not fear change. Do not fear leaving. If you feel that you are in a place where you are not valued, where your energy and efforts go unrecognized, and where your inner world is losing harmony, this is a signal that it's time to go. Life is too short to spend it on what destroys you. You deserve an environment that respects you, values your work, inspires your growth, and supports you on your path to a better life. Your life is your choice, and you have the right to build it according to your true values and beliefs. If these thoughts resonate with you, please like and subscribe to our channel. Share in the comments. What situations in your life have taught you to leave at the right time and how you dealt with difficult choices? We would love to discuss this with you. Remember, the most important choice in life is the choice of yourself.